Congressman, we'll give you an update on that. I think we have some good news for you.
Good, I appreciate that. Will you contact my office?
Absolutely.
Thank you. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman yields. Chair recognizes Ms. Scholten. 5 minutes of questioning.
Thank you, Chair Ezell and Ranking Member Gillen Carvajal, and welcome to our witnesses. The Coast Guard serves as an integral role in enforcing maritime law, including detecting and intercepting illicit activities and substances. Notably, I would like to commend the Coast Guard for recently intercepting a Russian vessel linked to Hezbollah's illicit financing network. This is exactly the kind of top-notch work we expect from our fearless coasties, and you made us proud in that mission. It's no surprise that I think the Coast Guard is the best at what it does. Just last year, the service broke its drug interdiction record, seizing over 500,000 pounds of narcotics. Simply put, the Coast Guard carries out its law enforcement duties well and intercepts these harmful drugs better than any other entity. While fulfilling this mission, the Coast Guard also takes the suspected drug smugglers into custody. Typically, the federal prosecutors at the Department of Justice then leverage these cases to dig up intelligence about the larger drug operation, ultimately limiting the flow of drugs into our community. As a former DOJ attorney myself, I'm deeply concerned about the fact that Attorney General Bondi has directed prosecutors to stop bringing charges against low-level offenders. Now we're seeing individuals captured by the Coast Guard being repatriated. Rear Admiral Barada, can you speak to how important these federal investigations are for information gathering? Additionally, please touch on how does the Coast Guard approach taking suspected smugglers into custody, their approach to doing that, how does that better serve our national security interests rather than killing the traffickers in the water, as we have unfortunately seen the Department of Defense do?
Congresswoman, so the counter-drug mission, that part of it, once we're doing the prosecution, we follow that normal process, through the maritime operational, the motor process. The threat response.
Yeah.
We go back to the Department of Justice, and in some cases, if their policy changes as it has recently, there is still intrinsic value in us, getting these drugs off the street, as has been highlighted here, and then conducting those interviews with them, going through the materials that they have available to them, the cell phones that they have aboard, and using that to help disrupt the flow of drugs as they come in. We also take biometrics off the smugglers, and so whether or not they are put back into the system or they're prosecuted, those drugs are not making their way to the street. As far as there is a deterrent effect to some of the kinetic strikes that are going on in some of the drug smugglers that we've seen. Whether that's going to be short-term or long-term remains to be seen.
But the kinetic strikes, the killings, let's be clear here. You're not collecting biometrics from those individuals or getting additional detailed information about their plans as you would when you're arresting other individuals.
We are not.
My next question, while drug and migrant interdiction are clearly critical parts of the Coast Guard's mission, I also want to ensure that Congress's unprecedented investment in the services also supports its other functionalities. Back home in Muskegon and Grand Haven, also known as Coast Guard City, USA, the Coast Guard search and rescue operations are always top of mind for families who come to enjoy the beach, or even when they're not supposed to, climb Lake Michigan's beautiful ice formations. Rear Admiral Barada, with a reinvigorated push towards its law enforcement efforts, how will the Coast Guard ensure there isn't disinvestment in other mission-critical areas, particularly as the service is about 8% short of enlisted personnel needs right now? Additionally, can you assure that stations like those in my district will not be closed with the current administration's emphasis on drug seizures?
Congresswoman, good news on the recruiting front. I think our ranks are continuing to swell as we bring people through Cape May. So I think that's for us. How we restaff some of the stations that we had to destaff. We're making decisions on that right now. But obviously, the Great Lakes, our life-saving mission will not go away. the Commandant has been very clear that that's our touchstone, that's our North Star, and we are committed to that mission and to the
Fantastic.
people of the Great Lakes.
And our stations in Grand Haven and Muskegon are safe?
Yes, absolutely.
Fantastic. Okay, West Michiganders and citizens. Oh, I recognize I'm running out of time. We are having too much fun here. So, thank you. Okay, great. I will get to my last question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. West Michiganders and citizens across the nation rely on federal agents and service members to thoughtfully and carefully fulfill their law enforcement duties, a responsibility I know coasties do not take lightly. I wonder, last week we watched in horror as Renee Good, a mother of a U.S. citizen who was shot and killed by an ICE agent. A thorough federal investigation is absolutely necessary to provide Renee Good's 3 children and her community with the answers that they need as they grieve this tragedy. Rear Admiral Barada, while I'd never ask you to speak on behalf of another federal agency, can you please reassure American citizens that the Coast Guard has a clear use of force policy? We know that oftentimes the Coast Guard is called in to situations such as this as well. And further, can you please touch on how the Coast Guard trains its service members to best protect themselves and civilians while carrying out law enforcement activities?
Congresswoman, thanks for the opportunity to kind of highlight how some of our law enforcement specialists, and I think what we saw over the last month or so on some of these Venezuelan tankers where we've had some of our high-end operators going aboard, and we've also seen our tactical law enforcement teams, but all the way down to our maritime law enforcement specialists around the country. They are trained in a standardized way. They are trained in our use of force policy. And, for us, we're very proud of the work that they do and our interactions with the public.